Good day to everyone joining us, and welcome to today's X Talks webinar. Today's talk is entitled Navigating Complex Regulations and Complaints to Achieve Quality Compliance for Life Sciences and Medical Devices. My name is Sonia Hunt, and it's my pleasure to be your X Talks moderator for today. Today's webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes. This presentation includes a Q&A session with our speakers. This webinar is designed to be interactive, and webinars work best when you're involved. So please feel free to submit questions and comments for our speakers throughout this presentation using the questions chat box, and we'll try to attend to your questions during the Q&A session. Now, this chat box is located in the control panel, which is found on the right-hand side of your screen. If you require any assistance, please contact me at any time by sending a message using this chat panel. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Please note that this event will be recorded and made available for streaming on xtalks.com. At this point, I'd like to thank ETQ, part of Hexagon, who developed the content for this presentation. ETQ, part of Hexagon, is a global leader in integrated quality management, health, safety, and environmental solutions for manufacturers. ETQ delivers a business advantage through quality to enterprise customers spanning industries such as pharmaceuticals, electronics, manufacturing, food and beverage, medical devices, and more. Firms rely on ETQ to ensure optimal quality at scale, reduce costs, and improve the velocity of data-driven decisions. Hexagon is a global leader in digital reality solutions combining sensor, software, and autonomous technologies. Hexagon has approximately 24,000 employees in 50 countries. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today's webinar. And first, I'd like to introduce you to Kim Wakeman. There she is. Hi there, Kim. She is the Director of Product Management at ETQ, and with more than 20 years of experience working in the medical device industry, Kim has worked with ETQ for more than 15 years. During her tenure at the medical device manufacturer, Kim worked in multiple roles in quality, assurance, regulatory affairs, and IT teams. She defined, refined, developed, validated, and implemented business solutions to streamline processes that were both cost-effective and compliant across multiple business units. Kim directly assisted global management teams in audits conducted by regulatory agencies. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our second speaker, and there he is, Mike Farrell. Mike has over 11 years of experience delivering high-quality solutions for quality teams focused in the life science industries. He has been involved in QMS implementations ranging from forward-facing solutions for suppliers to internal CAPA programs, configuring from the ground up. Okay, now it's my pleasure to pass the mic over to Kim and the controls. So Kim, when you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you, Sonia. Let me just go ahead and get to my screen here. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Today we are covering quite a few items that are on our list. The first is challenges with regulatory requirements and customer complaint. What the value of validated EQMS for achieving compliance. How aluminum manages quality at scale to maintain compliance, and how ETQ can partner with your company to achieve compliance and streamline the complaint process. We will also have time at the end for at the end of our presentation for a Q&A. So before we get started, Sonia, I'm going to pass it back to you to do a quick poll.
Okay, I will do that right now, and I'm launching it. And there you go. So we have a poll question for our audience members to interact with in real time. And if you're attending via GoToWebinar, the poll is appearing on your screen now, and you can vote by clicking on any of the answers below. And for those of you watching via LinkedIn live events, please feel free to share your thoughts and answers in the comments section. Okay, so the question is, how are you managing quality today? It's a single choice. Is it paper or manual processes, spreadsheets and or SharePoint, homegrown solution, several different methods of systems, or automated QMS? So please go ahead, everyone, and cast your votes, and then I will close the program, and then we will look at the results and then get right back to Kim and her presentation. Okay, that looks like it's the majority of our audience, so thank you very much for that. I'm now going to close the polls, and let's take a look at the results. So here are the results, Kim. In our audience, 20% chose paper or manual processes, while 10% chose spreadsheets and or SharePoint. No one chose homegrown solution, while 40% of our audience said several different methods or systems, and then 30% automated QMS. So thank you everyone for sharing with us. And now, Kim, what are your thoughts on the results of that poll question? Anything there surprising?
No, actually not. It makes complete sense.
Hmm.
We see a lot of our customers and prospects as well. They come into looking for a solution that could actually help them both navigate both those processes, both with
Hmm.
manual and the electronic system, to be able to incorporate all of that information in electronic system. We'll see as we go through the presentation the value of having one system to collect all that information. So thank you so much, Sonia, for conducting that poll for us.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go on to challenges with regulatory requirements and our customer complaints. So here's some challenges that we have heard from our life science and medical device customers. As we go through the process and we've talked with many of our customers, we find out that a lot of the guidance is very confusing. Guidance that they receive from the FDA or other parties, it leaves a lot of room for errors. So to navigate those issues have been very challenging for some of our customers, which also could lead to recalls as well as 483s. We also find out that some of the challenges with having multiple systems, again, this goes back to kind of the poll, having multiple systems, but also different ways of collecting this information. If it's a manual process or having multiple systems where this data is stored, it's very challenging and difficult to really understand where those quality issues arise from. Sometimes the systems that need to be validated, of course, from a compliance standpoint, these systems do need to be validated. It takes a long time to do those validation, and it's very time consuming to do that, as well as handling customer complaints. The investigation process takes quite a long time. The organization struggles to collect and process these customers' complaints to meet compliance, as well as protecting the brand value. So to avoid these to avoid the consequences, if unable to demonstrate compliance, of course, can lead to those 483s or recalls. So let's talk about the value of a EQMS for achieving compliance. A quality management system provides the place to navigate these complex webs of regulations and complaints, helping our life science and medical device manufacturers to achieve compliance. We've done a lot of research with our customers. We had a research project with our customers to look at the value of a quality management system. As part of that, we specifically looked at the value that they saw when it came to managing compliance. What we heard from our customers was that they really saw value when it came to reducing the risk of non-compliance, and where they saved time and spent on managing customer complaints, planning and executing audits. Through this project that we've done through ETQ, these customers said that they have reduced the time that they spent on managing customer complaints by 30%. They've also had a 50% reduction in the time that they spent supporting external audits, as well as a 50% reduction in the number of audit findings. So again, this is quite a lot of time spent and quite a reduction that these teams could support their customer complaints and audits by making their focus more on strategic activities versus spending all this time collecting this information from multiple systems and by having one central location that they're collecting the data from. All right, now I'm going to send it over to Mike from Illumina.
Cool, right on. Thanks, Kim. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. All right, guys. Good morning, good afternoon. Happy to be joining you. Thanks for ATQ for inviting me here to speak a little bit about quality at scale and how that's been accomplished at Illumina. So let's go ahead to the next slide, Kim, if we can.
Mm, sorry.
No problem.
There you go.
Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. So just a little bit about me, guys, and what my background is. I'm an IT person, if you will, and have been in the quality space of IT now for over 11, going on 12 years, and spent most of that time with ETQ Reliance. So I started out my career in food safety with implementing a version of Reliance many, many years ago, it feels like now, and took that experience and have continued for Reliances here at Illumina, taking full advantage of the platform. So excited to talk to you guys about that today on how we've been able to really leverage all of the fun that is Reliance, and I say that sincerely. Funny enough. So let's go to the next slide, Kim, and just talk a little bit about Illumina. So the company that I'm with and I'm going to be speaking about today is Illumina, where the mission is to improve human health by unlocking the power of the genome. So what does that really mean, and what does Illumina really do? So Illumina is in the business of genetic sequencing. We make the hardware, the software, and the consumables that run anything from a goat to a strawberry to a human. We do everything from non-invasive prenatal testing to the sequencing of the common strawberry. So anything that is living, or if you will, that has DNA, we have the machines and capability of sequencing said DNA. A lot of cool stuff comes out of Illumina in terms of the ability to pair medical, how do you say, drug prescription type of treatments with genetics, and how we can better target those aspects for more or less improving human health. So excited to work at Illumina. It's a really, really rewarding place to be, knowing the work that we do does tend to inherently help people, if you will. So in terms of our quality journey, let's move to the next slide. Awesome. So Illumina is a highly technical company where our suppliers and our ability to leverage our suppliers is one of the key aspects that we have within our supply chain, if you will. So there are many key suppliers for Illumina that have specific goods that ultimately are very specialized, of which can be anything that we've custom ordered, if you will, down to things that are off the shelf. But our supplier network, in terms of the business that Illumina runs, where we have low sales volume but high margins on those volume, if you will, it's important that our supplier and supplier network is very, very tight knit. So picking up on the poll that was taken a minute ago, if you will, where I saw a few people are still working in paper and a few things in multiple systems. Can't relate to that enough. Been there. Definitely, there's a part of the story that we have at Illumina, where we started with paper, and particularly thinking about our supplier quality area today. Started with paper for everything from SCARs to supplier audits, supplier change notifications, if you will, and ultimately had a very siloed approach to our supplier quality program. We had certain teams that were working on certain aspects of supplier quality, but weren't necessarily putting all of that together and bridging across the multiple teams. Now, as a result of having Reliance, and really the best way that I like to describe Reliance is that it's a we get the out-of-the-box modules, but we have the ability to do significant amount of configuration. The flexibility within the tool of Reliance and the ability to address the end user's requirement, if you will, is kind of second to none. And so when we started our journey with supplier, we really keying on that key suppliers, if you will, really wanted to start with our supplier change notifications. So in essence, we came up with this form within the system where suppliers could come in directly within a supplier portal, if you will. They would be able to submit to us based on the products that we purchase from them. So let's say that we have a custom part that is specific for Illumina. They'd be able to come into the portal themselves, log in, submit to us and say, this is how that particular product that we purchase is going to change. Now, what that does is it creates a signal internally. That signal allows our lifecycle management teams as well as our buyer and planning teams to come in, analyze what stock we have left in terms of the current ability to fill orders and what stock we have on the particular part that we're addressing, if you will, and ultimately creates that communication internally on what we need to do to disposition the product that may be changing, whether we can accept as is or whether we need to go back through a first article inspection, if you will. But in essence, the supplier change notification was the beginning of the supplier journey within this automated quality management system. Now, that was very, very popular, and it was very quickly adopted. More or less, the supplier quality teams saw the benefit, saw that they were able to get some response back from their suppliers directly. And as a result of that, it really exploded into the other areas of quality, of supplier quality, that particularly being the SCAR process and supplier audits. So the next thing that we really dove into was SCARs. We had this nice ability to understand where we had change notifications, and now with that same problem that we had this internal system, but we're using email to contact the suppliers, and the way that one supplier quality engineer does their job versus another was different and disparate. So we took ETQ, we leveraged our portal that we had set up for the supplier change certification, and then allowed for that collaboration across for the supplier corrective action reports, or SCARs. So this allowed us to issue a SCAR to a supplier, allow them to tell us what their containment plan would be, ultimately what their root cause and corrective actions would be, and how they had performed and validated that those things were done, if you will, and then ultimately put us into an effectiveness check so that we can monitor what's going on with our suppliers. Now, again, previously that being in Excel, then going to an internal system, supplier portal was really that maturity that we went through. Now really at kind of a level 4, level 5 with the ability to have the suppliers come and respond. Same story for supplier audits, where ultimately we took that from SCAR. We now conduct our supplier audits in our internal system. We push that to the portal when we have findings, allow the supplier to review and sign off on those findings, keeping everything ultimately in one tight-knit package. And then the last thing that we're really looking to do as a company is supplier investigations. So I know we all have nonconformances internally, whether that be from a purchase of good or whether within the manufacturing process itself. But the ability for the supplier to respond back when we have nonconformances is that next layer that we're really looking forward to getting into. So in conjunction with that NCR process and having the suppliers come in is really going to be powerful for Illumina. Now, with all of this, we did all this stuff, right? But what were the benefits, and what did we realize as a company? Let's go to the next slide if we can, Kim, if that's okay. Awesome. So the biggest thing, and what really sold it from the SCN process was that real-time monitoring. Having everything in one space where each supplier quality engineer, regardless of where they sat globally or regardless of their management chain, we now had a consistent process within one system that allowed that real-time monitoring of in-process records. That showed us when the supplier was working on corrective action, when they were in the midst of containment, if you will. We were able to see those SCNs coming in directly. And so the turnaround times and where we've had necessarily loops within our process to continue to enhance the system to make it a little bit better for our users and for our supplier quality engineers. That in real-time monitoring of those in-process records was very huge. And so again, those clear understanding of process steps for suppliers, having that detailed and laid out rather than through email or rather maybe one person's opinion, but not necessarily at a corporate level what we really want, it cut all that down. It really took out the awkwardness, if you will, of one person's approach versus another. It was within a system. It was very clear cut on what we need in terms of our quality agreements and how we run our business. And so that clear understanding was immediate. We have that secure single source for audit trail. So again, the ability to understand who's got the ball, how long did they have the ball, when do we have turnaround times? Is that more maybe for particular regions where we have more loops, if you will, or individuals? And as well, we had escalation reminders. So it's always nice to not have to send the nasty emails to suppliers or feeling like you're following up like crazy. The system does that for us. Our internal system allows emails to be management allows them to be sent to the suppliers directly, adding additional where needed, where maybe users might be on vacation, might have things going on. So those escalation reminders again were really big. It took that awkwardness out for our supplier quality engineers to just be able to rely on the system, not so much their individual emails or personal style, and really just set the playing field level across the board. And so the last thing, and another really big one, was that reduction in email back and forth. And so that was something that we were really fixated on solving, because everything was really more an email. When our supplier quality engineers would take time off, go on holiday, what have you, it made it a lot harder for us to keep the continuity. So having everything within a single system and having that forward-facing aspect of a portal itself has become a real success story for us within quality as a whole. Now, with those benefits and with everything that we've been doing, it was really important, and Kim, if you don't mind, we'll go to the next slide. I think it's yeah, perfect. It was really important for us to leverage the data, right? So we're putting all of this into a system, and we took the time to get everything, process aligned and all of that good stuff. But without leveraging that data, it was really kind of all for naught. And so what we did is we took a look at the background, the back end of ETQ, and we started to create a semantic layer of the data. So what does that mean? It means ultimately we're going from a field that might be your SCAR number that says ISCKQ, some nonsensical, if you will. And we made that easy to understand. SCAR number, or the current due date, or the current assigned person. Created a layer where our analytics teams and our supplier quality engineers, for that matter, could hook up to the data and really start playing with it. And they started playing with it through the reporting tools. So all the the usual suspects: Tableau, Power BI, Cognos. Different teams started leveraging the data and trying to find some insights to it, which is great. It really highlighted those loops, highlighted where we continue to make some enhancements to the system, again, making it easier for users to get through a particular process without having to go back. But one of the big things that it did was it set the stage for us to develop what we refer to as our key supplier performance scorecard. So our KSPM, if you will, the way that we prefer to it, is ultimately how we look at how many SCARs have been issued for a supplier, what is the performance when a supplier audit, how many non-conformances have we received within the ERP system against said supplier, and taking the weights of those things on how Illumina as a business looks at them and coming up with a score. And so we'll takes all of that data and process that we've used, and things like even like response time. How long does it take to get a response from the supplier? And we use that to come up with the score for this. So now we've set the playing field across suppliers to understand really what is their performance, not just looking at individual items. And I think for management at Illumina, sometimes that was something we were plagued with, right? I'm sure many of us experienced that, where one SCAR with a big supplier creates a much bigger issue than it might really be. But looking across multiple suppliers, we can tell these things happen. So the key performance supplier metrics, if you will, was very big to then take all of that data and really put it into a centralized global report that everybody from an executive level down to our buyers and supplier quality engineers can leverage and really understand for making decisions in their day-to-day operation. Now, moving forward just came a litany of more fun, right? Analytics just is one of those things where it's kind of like a jack in the box. It just seems to continue to expose more confetti, which is great. It's a fun time, actually. And so what this led to is more even outside of supplier quality. So our CAPA process, our quality events process, if you will, or even so much as facilities change control. Negative trends analysis on all of these processes and being able to see the workflow from that semantic layer was key. We saw the first shield pass. We were able to then develop more around CAPA performance. And so supplier quality was really kind of that seed that got us started in leveraging ETQ and its ability to configure. And I think that that is, if it's not seen here, that's the big theme that I'd like you all to take with you, is that the ability to manipulate the tool and really bend it to get to our exact requirements is bar none. We rarely, if ever, have to say no. It's more the process definition that is key. And process definition is really something that we focus on in Illumina before implementing, because of how flexible the tool is and how much it enables for us. And so with that, and having that supplier quality experience where we were able to grow, we were able to continue to commit at the scale that we were growing at, then allowed us to take those lessons and really apply it to other aspects of quality. So I know at Illumina, we will continue to leverage the tool and all the Lego blocks that it is to be able to put the pieces together to make it more user-friendly for our end users and address more quality processes as time goes on. I think, Kim, if we go to the next one.
That's it.
Awesome. All righty.
Excellent. Thank you
Thank
so
you, Kim.
much, Mike. That was great information, very informative. So thank you so much. Okay, so ETQ is your quality partner for demonstrating compliance and streamlining complaint management. So let's talk about how ETQ can help. From calculating the ROI for your business cases, to mapping out your deployment strategy, to providing the level of onboarding support you need. We're here to help. We can help you with all of these strategies, talk with upper management, and try to help get the support that you need to move forward with a system like ETQ Reliance. With a comprehensive process built in QMS like ETQ, you can reduce costs, as Mike was saying, streamline operations, and build compliance into your process, and mitigate supplier quality risk, resulting in improved efficiency, time to market, sustainability, and bottom line results. So we love the opportunity to share our expertise and help you along your quality journey. As you can see with ETQ, you're in good company. We have hundreds of customers of all shapes and sizes across many industries, such as the life science and medical device manufacturers, such as Kimberly-Clark, Siemens, Organon, and quite a bit more. We apply learning and best practices from across all these different industries as we build these applications to provide unique value to all of our customers. So a little bit about ETQ. So for over 30 years, ETQ has empowered quality champions to use quality management as a catalyst for business success. As Mike mentioned, we offer our Reliance platform is very flexible, scalable, it's easy to use, and it's the solution is purpose-built to connect quality processes to any of the areas in your organization. We aim to be a trusted advisor to our customers. Again, with 30 years of experience, we've worked with many industries to help our customers on their quality journey. We are also part of Hexagon, a global leader in sensor software and autonomous manufacturing solutions. Now over to you, Sonia, for some question and answers, please.
Okay, well, before we begin that, I just want to say thank you very much, Mike and Kim, for that great presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And we'll put on our webcams to begin the Q&A portion of the webinar. Okay, there everyone is. Now I would like to invite our audience to continue sending in their questions or comments for the Q&A portion of the webinar. And if you are attending via GoToWebinar, please use the questions window. And for those of you watching on LinkedIn live events, feel free to post your questions in the comments section. Okay, so with that, while you were speaking, I did receive a bunch of questions that came in. So let me start with this first one here. This audience member is asking, how did you get management buy-in? I guess this is a question for Mike.
Yeah, that's one that comes up a good amount. You know, it's one of those things where we did a strong benefits analysis. We did a strong return on investment, and I think that the big thing that we did was get the management to understand how flexible the tool really was. That we weren't getting into something where we were going to be pigeonholed to doing that same thing forever. we really had a tool that we could scale with, regardless of where the business wanted to go, whether that be in the out-of-the-box modules that were available to us, or if we just kind of needed to do our own thing and develop something that wasn't out of the box, that was, in the dirty word custom, but all configured really. So it was, it was a long road, not for nothing, and it is a challenge to get that management commitment. But I think the ROI that the tool does provide, once you get it in front of people, it starts to speak for itself.
Mhm. Okay, thank you so much, Mike, for sharing. Don't go anywhere because this next question is for you too. This
Yeah,
audience
yeah.
member is asking, what has adoption been like at your company at Illumina?
That's been something, I don't know if this is a West Coast thing, necessarily. We all like to get along, you know what I mean, Sonia? But yeah, Kim's out here with me.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where it did get adopted quickly. And I think honestly, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about like the silos, where we had people, we've got operations globally. We've got some people in the Midwest, we've got some people in Europe, all over.
Mhm.
And it was done in silos. And I think that was people's,
Oh,
from like the boots on the ground, myself included, that was the
mhm.
frustrating part, was like, hey, this guy Jamie is doing it this way, but like, why can't we do it that way? Or, what have you. And so when we started to get it out and we rolled it out and we showed everybody that we're going to have this unified approach and like, hey, this is how you're going to leverage SCAR and how you communicate with suppliers, it really did sell itself from that adoption, at least
Mhm.
for us.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Mike. Okay, so this looks like it may be our last question. So as a reminder to our audience, you still have the opportunity to send your questions through. And this question is, can you talk a little bit about the importance of benefits of making sense of data and analytics?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Analytics are a double-edged sword. They allow you to tell a story, whether that story
Mhm.
is good or bad, and ultimately the data can be used in both ways. And I think that we've seen that a lot. And I think the important part with understanding how to not get into the pitfalls of, telling a particular story is focusing in on what KPIs you want to address. So rather than, and that was something that like within our journey we learned. We had everybody kind of going out and it's spider web where everyone was telling a different story. And we took that
Mhm.
and we took an understanding of what they were trying to tell. And we
Mhm.
said at a global scale, let's set real KPIs. What is our true turnaround time when we have issuing findings to a supplier, if you will, within an
Mhm.
audit or within a capital process itself. And by leveraging like a base set of KPIs, really kind of, got rid of the noise where we know that we now have like a established set of global KPIs and metrics that we want to go after.
Mhm.
And that the other stories, if you will, are not really valid and that they have to be going through that center of excellence or center of gravity. I know a lot of companies call it different things, but it was important to centralize and it was
Mhm.
important to define as a company globally what we wanted as KPIs because the process is global. And
Mhm.
that's an important thing, keeping things as global as possible when you're working amongst multiple different sites. It plays a key role into your success.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that information. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. It looks like this is it for the Q&A portion of the webinar. And now, if we couldn't attend to your questions, remember the team at ETQ will follow up with you. And if you have any further questions, please direct them to the email address that you see here on your screen. There you go. Thank you, everyone, for participating in today's webinar. You will be receiving a follow-up email from X Talks with access to the recorded archive for this event. And momentarily, I'm going to share a link to view the recording of today's event in the chat box, which you can also share with your colleagues once they register for the recording as well. And for those of you watching via LinkedIn Live events, we encourage you to visit xtalks.com to register for the event and gain access to features such as saving, as well as viewing the recording, and there's so much more. And a survey window will be popping up on your screen. Your participation is appreciated as it will help us to improve on our further webinars. And if you give me a moment here, I'm going to share a link with you right now. This is for further resources. And there you go. So that's the resources page, and that's a link to utilize to get to it. Okay, so I encourage you to do that. Now, please join us in thanking our speakers for their time here today. So thank you very much, Kim and Mike.
Thanks,
Here
everybody. Appreciate
we
it.
go. We hope you found this webinar informative. It has been my pleasure to be your webinar moderator. On behalf of the team here at X Talks, we thank you for joining us. I'm Sonia Hunt. Until next time, please take care and bye for now. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.